Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday.
Happy Monday.
The start of another week.
A very big, very special, very jam-packed week.
Well, I have no idea why you would say such a thing, Dom. All I know is today we are recapping and going through the results of hashtag UFC Vegas 16. However, I won't play dumb anymore. We know that this is a big week for us, don't we?
Many reasons.
A lot of reasons. 2021's coming early. Christmas came early.
Yeah.
Santa already paid us a visit.
Yes. We were good.
No
cold.
If you don't follow our Instagram, which you should go follow at BAJ_MMA podcast,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, correct.
You could have seen, and you should go follow us over there, or on our Twitter, same handle at BAJ_MMA podcast. We teased this Thursday. We got a pretty big announcement coming, and look, it's 2021's coming early.
Oh, yeah. This is very exciting stuff.
Oh.
We are ecstatic for this announcement.
Yeah, 100%.
We've not had an announcement in a little while.
Yeah, I mean, the last announcement...
We've just been grinding.
The last announcement, we were 1 month in.
Yep.
Our first official sponsor, Anchor.
Yep.
Shout out to Anchor.
Shout out Anchor.
Still good to us.
Love them.
We haven't announced anything since then.
We haven't.
So what could it possibly be? Well, you'll have to wait till Thursday to really find out.
Mm-hmm. Also...
Yes.
Well, that's reason number one. Reason number two, this is a big week. Episode 50.
Yeah.
On Friday, the UFC 256 preview episode. And reason number three, we got a special episode on Wednesday.
Oh my gosh, what a jam-packed week.
And it's a big one.
We got content coming literally every day of the week.
They're not ready for this week at all. Because I'm not ready, and I'm the co-host of this podcast, and I'm not ready, so I know they're not ready.
See, what doesn't make me ready is I feel like once everything has been unveiled, like there's no going back.
No.
If we thought that,
we throw it on them, and
if we thought that we were in too deep yet already, nope.
No.
We got deeper.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In case you guys can't tell, we're really teasing this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's coming on Thursday. It is a big week, though, if you want to go by just the episodes that you would expect. Today, obviously, we'll go through some news, and then the hashtag UFC Vegas 16 results and recap, capped off with a huge decision victory for Marvin Vettori over Jack Hermansson. Vettori finally gets his time to shine, takes full advantage of it. Now he's top 5 guy.
And what a fight!
What a great fight!
We were so excited on Friday.
We convinced ourselves while breaking it down,
to change it to fight of the night.
And I was like, you know what? This will be fight of the night.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, it was fight of the night.
Yes. And our friends that we talked to about this were like, guys, we're telling you, this is going to be an awesome fight.
Yeah.
And
I'm so glad it lived up to expectations because I don't tend to be right about a lot of fight predictions. So.
Shout out to Marvin Vettori getting the win on the big stage. Shout out to Hermansson taking short notice opponents. Doesn't give a damn who he's fighting against. Still looked great in that fight.
Yeah, that's the thing is he got hurt in the first round.
Oh, bad. Very bad.
So I think I think that he was affected the rest of the fight.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll get more into it later, but just, I feel like there's a part of me that's like, damn, like the guy took 3 opponents, couldn't come up with the win. Like you feel sorry for the guy, but again, it drops him to 5th, 6th, maybe, depending on how high they put Vettori. So, he's possibly going to get that Darren Till matchup again because I think the UFC is going to respect the shit out of him for what he did there. But we're going to start with everyone's favorite segment, the news.
The news.
Not a lot.
Sometimes after big news segments, I like a little.
Oh, we had a huge drop on Friday.
I like a little. Yeah, this will be 2 in a row. That's not too bad.
Yeah. So starting with our fight announcements, we're going to go over across the globe and talk about a little one championship. They have their next flyweight title fight announced. Adriano Moraes, the current flyweight champion. By the way, a 3-time holder of that belt.
Oh.
He's defending against a very familiar name to any UFC fan, Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson. And like Dom said, a lot of people might go, Wasn't he already the flyweight champion? No, you'd be wrong. He won the flyweight Grand Prix in October of 2019. Hasn't fought since then, but winning that Grand Prix set him up to get that title shot against Moraes here. And I do just want to say, like, Moraes has literally, in his pretty much entire tenure with ONE FC, he's been chasing this belt or holding this belt. He's literally had it 3 times. Like, this guy does not want to give up this belt. And no, like, you can't.
Now he's going to get the biggest fight of his career.
Oh, 100% the biggest fight of his career. And he is coming off of winning the title for that 3rd time. He had lost it in a split decision back in June 2018 to Mr. The first name's hard. Last name.
Wait, the first name is hard?
Yeah, it's like, no, the first name is hard to pronounce.
Oh, okay.
Gege? JJ?
Yeah.
Gege?
Yeah.
Eustaquio. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the confidence. Probably look these up before we start. But he lost that in a split decision, gets an immediate rematch to him, and wins by unanimous decision. So, on one hand, you got to think, all right, the winner of this fight's probably fighting him next because the immediate rematch thing, you think that there would be a 3rd fight there. But understandably, Mighty Mouse is going to get his shot. And he's going up against a submission specialist here. 9 wins via submission. He's 18-3. Mighty Mouse, you guys all know Mighty Mouse. You know how good he is. He's one of the best to ever do it. He's had an interesting run in one. He's 3-0 in the promotion. His first fight, though, he ran into some trouble early on against Yuya Wakamatsu. I mean, that's how you pronounce it.
You just got to go with it. You had it. I just think that Yuya threw you off.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think it's more so because I feel like someone's listening, throwing their headphones because of the way I can't pronounce things. But he does get the submission win. That was the opening round of that Grand Prix in the 2nd round. But he was hurt early. Mm-hmm. And we, again, as a UFC fan, we do not see Mighty Mouse ever be really hurt or tested very much. So, a very big surprise there, but he's looked pretty much dominant since then.
I want to give a shout out to ONE, by the way, for doing a very good job at treating this whole arrival of Mighty Mouse. You would think that they would have just thrown him right to the wolves, right into a title fight. Boom. Here's your title fight. You've been a champion. Here you go. But I kind of like that they made him go through the Grand Prix.
I do too.
I like it. He got 3 fights out of the way, acclimated to moving across the world, fighting these newer guys. Now, here's your time. I like it.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
It shows like Demetrius doesn't care.
I mean, I think Mighty Mouse has always been so respectful, so humble. I think he understands that and respects the art of competition.
Yep.
And that this is how it should be. It's refreshing.
Because he didn't just come in and skip everybody.
As much as we love the UFC, they do that. A lot of promotions do that. You know, you get this big signing and you kind of just shoot him to the top. You know, we're seeing it with Michael Chandler kind of when he was announced as an alternate for that title fight with Khabib Gaethje. I know it ended up not happening, but if he would have actually gotten that shot, it would have felt a little weird.
Yeah. Really, now that I think more about the trade, the UFC kind of did it for Ben. They didn't throw him right in either. Now he wasn't a champion, obviously, coming over because he was technically retired and all that.
Ben Askren.
Ben Askren. But both during this trade that we don't see, they both kind of did it that way, I guess. Obviously, for Ben, it didn't play out.
I mean, his first fight was against Robbie Lawler, who, you know, at that time, I know now, like, Robbie, there's a lot of questions on where his career is really going.
Then you got to think, I mean, say he would have beat Jorge, he probably would have got a title shot next.
Yeah. But the thing is like, he was nearly finished by Robbie in the first 30 seconds of that fight. Then he does get finished in the first 5 seconds against Masvidal, and then ultimately the Maia fight gets choked out. So
as you guys can tell, one of the trades went very well for one person and not so well.
Yeah, like, I get it. Like, now Askren's kind of like, his career's not looked at near as highly as it was before he came over.
People love the guy.
But people love him. He did quite a bit of business while he was over here. I mean, he made a name for himself right away. He's very good on the mic, very confident in himself, very funny guy. But he's got, like, the body type and the, like, look of just, like, your science teacher in high school. So, like, it's cool, you know. But didn't really work out when it came to getting to that title shot, obviously. But to kind of bring us back to Demetrius, I agree. It's refreshing to kind of see him just be brought along like he's, you know, they recognize he's elite.
Yeah.
But they're testing him.
Exactly.
And now he gets his biggest opportunity. And it's not a for sure win for him. I mean, again, he's going up against a savage here in Moraes who just refuses to let go of this belt.
Mm-hmm.
So that plays a factor. Sure, Mighty Mouse might have the advantage everywhere for all we know. But there is something to that championship mentality.
Yep.
And like if you're able to recognize, oh, this guy's trying to steal everything I've ever worked for. If you can really put yourself in that mindset, there's no telling how this fight goes.
Willing to go in there and leave it all out there, you know?
Yeah.
Leave it all in there, leave it all out there.
Hey.
I'll just say both.
Both. Moving on to our second fight announcement here. We're back into UFC, back in the Octagon.
Shocker.
I'm going to say this is probably the most shocking fight announcement I've ever heard, just because I just never would have thought this would have happened. Dominic Cruz has been announced for a fight at UFC 259, which, as we said on Friday, is happening March 6th. But against Casey Kinney, the rising prospect.
Contender Series alum.
Yeah, and I want to get your thoughts here, but what was so shocking to me, because I do think that this is a fair fight. Like, I don't think that this is a given win for Cruz at all. Like, Kinney is a savage. Great. He looks fantastic. But based off of Cruz's kind of comments when he last fought the co-main of UFC 249, he ultimately lost that fight against Henry Cejudo for the bantamweight belt. I know there's a lot of controversy on the stoppage, but he lost. So in the lead up to that and afterwards, he basically said he wanted to only take like legacy fights.
Yeah, I had, to a certain extent, didn't even know if he would even fight.
Yeah,
because he's been doing the commentary.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at it. He's living comfortably in the booth. You know,
he is, in my opinion, improving with each event.
Yeah,
at first he was a little shaky, but he has gotten better.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit. I like him more for his analysis.
He's very intelligent.
Yeah, and I really respect that because I think it's a good contrast to some, and not that the other guys don't offer that, but when you have guys like Cormier, even Rogan, where they have more of the personality, or Michael Bisping, where they're like very entertaining.
Yeah,
it's nice to have someone who's able to counteract that and be more reserved and more thought out, more.
Yeah, I really liked the group they did this past Saturday. Him, Paul Felder, and then Anik obviously does all of them.
That's a great group.
Yeah, that they did well together. Anyway, fighting wise.
Yeah, so here he is back, and that's why it was so surprising. Is just because you thought what we had kind of assumed was he was either probably done, or he would only take a high-profile matchup.
I wanted Frankie or Aldo.
Frankie, you had Aldo, you had maybe a rematch with Garbrandt out there, maybe a trilogy with Dillashaw. Like, you know, you had these options that looked like they were plausible. But instead he takes Kinney here, who is
on a tear.
He's on a tear, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he's 16-2-1, and really, based off of his UFC losses, he only has the one. I mean, he lost in the Contender Series, but ultimately his one loss was to Merab Dvalishvili, who is a power grappler.
Ranked number 12 in the division.
So another guy who we might be looking at in the top of the top here soon. But that's really all we've seen him have a hard time with is like that power, that grinded out style, and Cruz doesn't really offer that. He's very unorthodox. He's such a puzzle of a striker.
He's very unique.
He's fantastic on the feet.
He's one of the most unique stylistic fighters I've ever seen.
Yeah, and and he's very well rounded, but you're not gonna have to worry about him grinding you down and like throwing you to the ground and like.
He's gonna pick you apart. Point fight you.
So that's where this fight gets interesting because Casey 7 finishes and 16 victories, 5 of them by submission. So
he was just in a fight of the night, his last fight too.
Yeah, against Nathaniel Wood at 254. But that's why this matchup is so interesting. So I'm curious your thoughts.
Good for Casey Kinney. I mean, hello.
A huge opportunity.
Top 10, and Dominic Cruz, a legend, one of the best bantamweights of all time, if not the best, depending on some people. He made my top 10 list way back when, which seems like forever ago when we made that now. And for Dominic, shout out to you for accepting this fight. I mean, it's kind of reminding me of the whole Anthony Pettis fight that we announced on Friday with Morano.
Yeah.
Morano. Because, you know, similar to Dominic Cruz, Anthony's just a legend, former champion. Really, just a guy right now that you think is just going to do big fights. I mean, Anthony just came off that fight with Cowboy Cerrone, doing these legendary type fights. But here's Dominic Cruz and him both fighting these young up and coming prospect guys, especially here in this Cruz versus Kenny fight. I don't really know what to expect from this because I know Dominic Cruz still has it in him. I mean, we saw him fight Henry, and
he didn't look bad against Henry either. It was literally, I mean, they both were kind of like feeling each other out for the first 2 rounds, and then he got caught with that freaking shin to the face that would probably put out a lot of people cold. He didn't. He was working his way back to his feet. And then, was it Keith Peterson, I believe? Yeah, I think it was Keith Peterson steps in and stops it. A lot of controversy there. I looked at it like, should the fight have been stopped? Probably not, especially because it was like with, 4 or 5 seconds left in the round.
It was later in the round.
And he was working to his feet, but, you know, it happens, and
in the moment type decision.
Like, it's hard for me to really be too angry about it because I understand Cruz being angry about it, but, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So, this fight came out of left field. Good for Casey Kenny. Really nothing to lose here if you're Casey Kenny at all. For Dominic, you have nothing to really gain from this. Besides the fact that saying you still got some gas left in the tank. But, I mean, if he's wanting to try and get his belt back, this isn't going to get him there, in my opinion.
Well, it's
odd.
It might not get him there. Like, it might not be he wins this and he gets a title shot, but he is still one of the biggest names in the division.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets a win, he's able to bounce back, and then maybe you look to one of those high-profile matchups like the trilogy with Dillashaw. Or a rematch
we never see
with
Dominic.
Cody.
I mean, we're talking about a guy that's always just in title fights or big fights, and here he is. Just, you know.
I mean, that's fine. Like, again, I think it's good for him.
Oh,
actually.
I like it.
In a way, I think it's good. Like, I'm kind of glad this is what's happening. I do still think, like, the Aldo or the Edgar matchups were very enticing and very realistic for where they're at in their careers, but that's not the direction they're going. They're kind of doing the veteran prospect matchup here, which we've, again, been seeing a lot recently with, Pettis Morano we just talked about.
And Dominic Cruz still only 35, so you never know what type of runs people can go. And we're talking about a guy that's been injury-prone his whole career.
Yeah.
I'm like, imagine what he could have accomplished.
What a story.
Oh, man.
Like, seriously, for any of you who don't know really the story that Cruz has had through his UFC tenure, please take some time and educate yourself on it, because it's one of the most inspiring stories out there. I mean, a guy who was the OG bantamweight champion of the UFC after the merger with WEC comes over, wins the belt. He was pretty dominant with it. However, the problem was it's hard for me to even get the timeline together. He tears an ACL. Eventually, an interim champ is brought in. That's Renan Barão. He ends up tearing his other ACL, so then Renan Barão becomes the undisputed champion. And then, like, the cadaver that they put into his, knee
during
or whatever.
Surgery?
Yeah, it, rejected it. So, I'm telling you guys, look it up. You'll be able to get a more clear picture here. But literally, his whole career has been riddled with these serious injuries. But the best part about it was he was able to come back, after he hadn't fought in 2 years, 2.5 years, wins the belt from TJ in his first fight back, or first fight back, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wins the belt from TJ. He did lose it to Garbrandt, and then he had another extended hiatus from 2017 until 2020 this year due to injuries again. But he came back and, look, even in the Cody fight, Cody had an amazing performance, but, Cruz never looked like he had lost a step.
Yeah, Cody just looked world class in that fight. That was insane.
In the Cejudo fight, sure, he got finished, but again, with a kick that would have probably knocked out cold the majority of people in that division, and he was hurt.
Yeah, and that's 2 of his 3 losses ever.
We had never
3 losses
really,
ever.
we never really seen Cruz's chin be tested, so checks off there. Yet to see him really look like he's lost a step. Checks off there. I see no reason why we won't see a classic Cruz here.
Yeah.
Is it good enough to beat Kenny? I don't know, because Kenny looks great as well.
Oh, it's a very interesting stylistic fight.
Yeah.
Casey, Kenny. I want to see how he is going to perform under these bright lights here.
Yeah.
This is a big challenge for him. Is he going to keep bringing that intensity, that action that we know and love him for?
It's a high-profile matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This has main card written all over it. I could only imagine.
Yeah, you'd have to think so.
So this is an awesome fight. Very random. Very
it's
random,
very
but
random.
we love it.
Yeah, so that's all for the fight announcements. As for the rest, there's really one big storyline going around here. After Saturday night's fights, Dana White, as per usual, has his post-fight press conference. I guess really before that, it was announced, I believe, Friday night, it was announced that Yoel Romero, one of my favorite guys, this hurts, he was cut from the UFC. 3 fights left on his contract. His last fight was back in February for the belt against Adesanya. It was a shock, to say the least. However, when Dana gave his reasons why, it made sense somewhat. He's 44.
44.
He lost 4 of his last 5. Even though I was still looking at okay, I get the age thing. But just saying he lost 4 of his last 5, I feel like that's very surface level observation. When you really dig into those fights, he did not look bad in the majority of them. I mean, the Adesanya fight, nobody really looked good out of that.
That doesn't count as a fight.
The Costa fight was a fight of the night.
2 of them are to Robert Whittaker.
Yeah, which are 2 of the best title fights ever. The second one especially.
He knocked Luke Rockhold's head into the stands.
Yes, he did.
And he has also missed weight a few times. That's another.
So that was kind of what I was going to get at.
That wasn't mentioned. But
when you really look at his career, it's been kind of a weird one. He's just, there's a lot of the missing weight. He would be he could be champion.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so crazy how his careers went that he never won a belt, but he fought for the title so many times.
Yeah, if he was on weight in the Rockhold fight, he would have been interim champ, right?
Interim champ, but then he still got the undisputed shot.
Yeah.
Missed weight, went to a split decision, almost knocked out Whittaker.
Yeah.
So he could have ended up winning that fight, but it would have been like Figgy Benavidez situation.
Yeah.
Nobody wins the belt. It was kind of a mess, but he was so entertaining to watch at times. Look at the first time I ever saw him fight was UFC 205 in New York, Madison Square Garden. He went up against Chris Weidman, who it was his first fight. Weidman after losing the belt, I believe, the Rockhold. So Yoel lands a flying knee as Weidman's going for a shoot on a takedown.
Oh, it looked like a scary movie in that octagon.
The side of Weidman's head was leaking.
Yeah, it was bad.
But and then he gets on the mic and he's and you have him and Michael
Bisping on. Yeah. See you soon, boy.
There's something when Rogan's doing the post fight, he goes, "Well, there's Michael Bisping on the big screen," and then Michael flips him off. He goes, "And he flipped you to bird." Just the
That's when the legend of Yoel Romero began.
And he's just night. "I love you, I love you, Mike.
See you soon, boy."
Yeah, his accent, I fell in love with Yoel Romero tonight. I'm like, this dude is.
He made him and Bisping had all the shit talking back and forth, and he made the video burning the flag and the Cuban cigar, and he's like,
"Well, at a fight,
Dana, give me that fucking boy."
He's like, "Give me your boy." I couldn't help but love the guy.
Oh man!
Despite the missing weight and shit, it's even back in the day he had that awesome fight with Tim Kennedy where Stoolgate. Have you heard?
Oh yeah, the water.
Yeah, where
he
he was on his stool. He was being beaten bad by Tim Kennedy, and John McCarthy's like, "All right, corners, get out. Round's about to start." Well, then they're like, "Wait, Yoel's they were just basically pouring water on him."
Yeah.
So then that gives them extra time to wipe him off, and then they're trying to get out of the octagon, and they're but he's sitting on the stool the whole time resting as they're kind of scrambling. I'm putting quotations up right now because I think it was pretty calculated. But he ends up finishing Kennedy in the 3rd round of that fight. So controversy there. And then, with his accent, it's hard to understand him sometimes. So he was talking about Jesus, I believe, after that fight or after one of his fights. And it sounded like he said "no for gay Jesus" or something like that. So people thought he was talking about LGBT in a negative way, but I don't think that's what he was trying to say. I think it's just the accent misconstruing what he was saying. But anyways, it's been an interesting run.
He's had a lot of memorable.
Yeah, he's just a very memorable guy, and it's such a surprise to see him cut. Even if the age thing makes sense, even though he still is built better than any individual I've ever met. I don't really agree with the 4 of his last 5. I know he does make a lot of money for every fight he gets at this point, so maybe it's a cost-saving measure, and I think what I'm going to lead
into. Well, this leads us into what happened further
what was
in
said
the
in the press conference. After talking about Yoel, Dana was like flat out, this is the first of many.
Yeah.
Roster is very inflated. Going to see a lot of names going in the next several weeks, and the number that keeps being thrown out is 60. I don't know if Dana himself said that or if that was...
He said nearly around 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess in a way we've already seen this, because really, probably Juicy Formiga was probably really the first one to
especially of name value.
Anyway. Yeah, because I mean, even though I think people weren't too shocked by that one because flyweights have kind of been in that situation for a while, but
we're seeing
now Yoel, Yoel, like that's a big shock. So now you're talking about 60 people. I do agree on one hand that the UFC's roster is very inflated right now. I mean, they have more fighters under their roster than there are NBA players.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot of fighters, and I know that they put on a lot of events every year, and now you have the Contender Series, and you got the Ultimate Fighter coming back, so you got this revolving door of guys coming in here. And it's not uncommon for the UFC to do year-end cuts, but of this size, it's a big one. And I think a lot of the questions are like, what's the reasoning? And most signs point to the year we're in, being 2020, cost-saving measures. Is that kind of where you're thinking here? Or?
I mean, I just think it's a bunch of different reasons. I think it's interesting that he said, not only are they going to cut people, but he said there's going to be some names.
Oh, yeah. He said, get ready.
Yeah. There's going to be some
I'm
high level.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah. This is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like how you worded it when you talked about Yair.
Like eerie?
Yeah. Just what's going to happen? Who's going to be next? We're all just waiting on our toes here.
I mean, you can sit there and really think about it, and the names that like come to my head, I'm like, oh boy, like,
yeah.
Hopefully it's not them, you know?
Yeah,
because I think of guys who haven't fought in a while, guys who are ranked older.
Yeah, you have to start thinking about.
Because when you get to those veterans, they start getting paid a lot more. Mm-hmm. Like I'm talking, 6 figures a fight. And when you're getting to that point, and UFC, there's been a lot of talk about fighter pay, and we're not going to delve into that right now, but. When you're talking 6 figures in the UFC, a lot of times, some of these guys were making more than champions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking guys like Donald Cerrone,
Brad Tavares,
Tyron Woodley,
Woodley.
Even like a guy like Al Iaquinta, like
yeah,
there are going to be big names. I don't know who. That's
maybe Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah, I could see that 100%.
It's
Robbie Lawler.
Carlos Condit.
Yeah, there are names.
Yeah, so it's Nate Diaz. I don't think so, but I'm just saying.
I get your point.
It makes you think.
Yeah,
and hopefully, really at this point, it's gonna happen. So I don't want to sit here and be like, well, hopefully it's not this guy and it's this guy.
I mean, you got to think Anderson just got released. Dana talked about Shogun after his fight. Probably might want to hang it up. If not, we're probably just gonna release him.
Yeah.
So I think it is a multitude of factors.
Yeah.
It's obviously been an insanely crazy year, no matter what way you put it. Obviously, the UFC has been successful, but they've had hiccups. Obviously, any business has had hiccups. So I think it's partially that. I think it is partially the inflation. Let's trickle down this roster. Let's take out some of the older guys that aren't going to get in there for title fights anymore. We're going to bring in these up-and-comers, Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter. We've got... These divisions right now are more stacked than really they've ever been. A lot of them.
Well, let me raise a question for you here. And this was a point I've seen being talked about a lot on Twitter. People being pretty pessimistic here. So the viewpoint that I've been hearing passed around on Twitter was that this is more of a cost savings measure because, like I mentioned, the UFC wants to fill these cards potentially with guys that are up and comers who will make significantly less money,
right?
That therefore they're paying less money per event compared to filling it with names like Yoel Romero.
And when you have events right now without asses in the seats,
yeah, and I guess I don't know if I fully agree with that viewpoint because I think a lot of it depends on how much money are these fighters bringing in. Because if Yoel Romero was really if UFC feels like he's worth the money to keep around. Like if they felt like they were making money off of having Yoel Romero on these cards, then I don't think they would cut him. Maybe they would because of his age. I don't know, but that's why I'm like, I don't know how to really feel here. It's unfortunate. It makes me sad that it's happening, but I understand the inflation point of view because when I heard, I think it was over 600.
Yeah, they have over 600 fighters.
I mean, that's a lot. And when you really look at
you got to offer each of these fighters, by the way, 3 fights a year.
Yeah, and this is going to lead into kind of the other point where we don't really know how long this pandemic's going to continue. I mean, really, we're at a point now where it's worse than ever.
Yeah.
And it's affecting the UFC more so than it ever has.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah.
We've had like 7 straight main events be scrapped or changed due to COVID, and that might not stop anytime soon. So we don't know. We don't know how long it's going to continue. But since the UFC has been back in May, we've talked highly about these guys that have been getting in there fighting 4 times in 2 months, or multiple times in a week period.
Shout out Hamzat, Kevin Holland.
But the thing is when you have over 600 fighters, there shouldn't be a need to have guys fighting that consistently. But yet we're seeing a lot of these same names popping up every 3 weeks, every month. So you probably have a lot of names if you really go down through the roster. There's a lot of guys who probably haven't fought once this year, who maybe haven't fought in the last 2 years, or maybe fought once at the beginning of the year. Like, I understand with the pandemic, they're like, we're not going to make anybody fight. But after a while, at the end of the day, it's a company. And how long do you hold on to these guys before you just start making room? Because, again, you do have things like the Contender Series, like Ultimate Fighter coming back, that's going to bring in more names. I mean, even for the Contender Series, one of the cuts they made, it wasn't as big, like highly talked about, but they cut a fighter that they had signed from the Contender Series who had yet to fight. Colin Huckbody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had cut him. So even those guys aren't safe.
Yeah, nobody's safe.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see. We'll obviously keep you guys updated as more comes about.
And obviously the hope is nearly all of these fighters, if not retiring next, will be picked up.
Yeah.
Or even dealt from the UFC to other organizations.
I guess there's a positive there is that these guys, if they are cutting these big names who still have it left in the tank, well, they can still go to Bellator or Ryzen or ONE FC or PFL, and we can see some more competitive balance across these other promotions. It would be nice to be able to watch a Bellator card and at least be more familiar with the fighter because we've seen them fight for years in the UFC. It would at least make things in some ways more interesting
and keep paychecks coming to their bank account.
Yeah, so that's at the end of the day, like, it's gonna suck because the UFC is the premier organization, but I think that for the majority of these fighters, they'll be fine. I think they'll just move on or retire or whatever it's gonna be. But it's obviously a somber topic. So any other final thoughts?
Anxious to see the names that we will hear about in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and we'll obviously keep everybody updated on that. But with that is the end of the news.
The news.
Time to recap a card, Dom.
Let's do it. I love it.
Let's start. Let's start by talking about. We broke down 6 cards.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good.
On Friday's episode, we had a 6-card breakdown. You know how excited we get about the 6-fight main cards. 2 of those fights got scrapped the day of due to COVID.
It was fantastic.
Well, there was 3 fights in total scrapped, including
Jimmy Flick.
Jimmy Flick's fight got scrapped. And I believe they moved it to 256.
I just hope they moved it to one of them.
That's what they were talking about. They said it might have been pushed back.
There's too much going on in December.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, like, some of our previews did not even make it to fight night. It's not the first time it's happened to us, but, man, 3 fights the day of. And I think only 2 of the 3 were due to COVID, but I don't...
Yeah, one was just medical reasons.
Yeah, I guess
that was the Jimmy Flick one, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, and I think that's why it's now on 256.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting an 8-fight card, which is the 3rd time that's happened in 2020, and that's very small for the UFC.
Yeah.
Typically, they try to do at least
10.
At least 10, 11. I mean, we had one. What was it? Was it
Darren
Till Whitaker? Wasn't that one 17
one
or 16?
One of them had like 16 fights.
That was a record.
Yeah.
So we're hitting that point where it's like, man, I remember at that time we were just like, man, nothing can stop the UFC.
They
Not even
figured it out.
COVID.
Yeah.
And here we are, and it's
COVID's here for the championship round.
yeah. So it's very unfortunate, but I think with what we got, considering that this is out of the UFC's hands at that point, I think overall it was a great card.
Oh, this card was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved this card.
And, I'm going to sound like Dana White here, but people were shitting on this card beforehand.
We try our best.
And I'm like, man, like, what do you got? Like, I get it. Not a ton of big names here.
That's when...
But this is...
it's like the little burger bar that you see in the corner, a little dive.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what the hell? I'm not going in there. Then you go in, it's the best meal you ever ate in your life.
Right.
Best burger ever.
100%.
That's how these cards are.
And
the past 2 cards.
And it's like, how do you think these stars get made? They don't just...
They got to start somewhere.
They just don't pop out of the womb and they're a damn champion.
Conor McGregor started on fight nights, ladies and gentlemen. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I mean, at one time, Conor McGregor was just...
A wee lad.
A plumber's apprentice.
Yeah.
Who was living off welfare.
Yeah.
Nobody gave a shit about him.
Yeah.
And now he's the biggest name to ever come through combat sport.
Everybody's got to start somewhere. And that's why these fight nights, man, for years now, especially in 2020 with so many prospects that we have, fantastic fights. Diamond in the rough style matchups.
Yeah. And if you're a casual fan, I don't necessarily expect every fan to be like, oh, let me check out this card to see who can potentially be an up-and-comer or future champion. But I'm saying, if I respect that, but it's to go out of your way to say that this card's shit.
Right.
That's where I have the problem. Because these it could have been a shit card if they didn't deliver.
Yeah,
but they did.
And we admit when cards don't deliver, or fights in general.
So. Sometimes they just don't deliver, and that happens. Mm-hmm. But this card was great. I thought.
Yeah.
Considering
in the main event.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I guess we'll just go ahead and jump in here. Basically, the card, we ended up with a 5-fight main card. Right. We started out with, I didn't even realize this guy was on the card. Our Contender Series veteran, Mr. Jordan Leavitt.
What a character.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember his performance on the Contender Series. He did the splits afterwards.
He is just a fun guy.
Yeah. So I didn't realize he was on this card. I just didn't, I guess, really pay attention to that. I knew he was fighting Matt Wyman, who, when we've talked in the past about certain guys who've been fighting for a long time, Matt Wyman was fighting back in the UFC in 2005 and 6.
37 years old now.
And he had stopped fighting professionally around 2014, came back in 2019, and after Saturday, he has lost all 3 fights he's had on his comeback. I think that's going to end that. But leave it, man. Woo. The knockout. Dude, one of the nastiest slams
This
I've
did
ever
not
seen.
Blow up enough on social media, in my opinion.
Agreed.
You don't see this in the UFC very often.
No.
So here's the fight. The horn sounds. They meet in the middle. Mm-hmm. Like every fight. Matt Wyman then all of a sudden is in Jordan Leavitt's arms. And he gets carried across the octagon. The whole octagon. From one side to the other.
Like Hughes versus Trigg.
Yep. And then Jordan kind of just saddled in. Tuckered his elbow right up to Wyman's chin. And Batista bombed him through the canvas.
He did it. He fucking Batista bombed him.
22-second. Round 1. Body slam. Knocked out cold.
What was your takeaway? Well, 22 seconds.
I was waiting for him to go through the canvas like Mankind did when Undertaker threw him through the cage. It was brutal.
Matt Wyman's still in the shadow realm.
It was bad. It was like scary.
It was scary.
After a certain amount of time.
Well, because the sound when he slammed, you don't hear that. I mean, Dana talked about that. And I remember I was like, because a backstory. When I was watching the fights live, I wasn't listening to the commentary. I other stuff going on, but so it was on mute. But I saw it and I was like, holy shit. But then I saw the clip on Twitter. I believe you even sent it to me, and I watched it, and then I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like, the sound is just like disturbing.
Yeah, it was a thud. And then
he did the damn splits again.
Jordan does the splits.
And then he
does dirty dancing with his coaches where they lift him up.
What a character.
He is just a very fun person.
And I agree that should have blown up more. And you know what? I owe Leavitt a bit of an apology because I didn't really I was talking about Jimmy Flick on these prelims. I should have been giving him some
Yeah.
props. I'm glad he got thrown on the main card, though.
Oh, yeah, man. And again, another Contender Series alum showing up. Jordan's undefeated, by the way.
Yeah.
8-0 now.
Yeah.
6 of his 8 wins by finish. Going into that fight, 5 of them were, or I think they were all submissions. So this was the KO TKO. Yeah, this was. You don't see slams like this happen very often.
Nope.
Once in a blue moon, really.
Yeah.
And that's across all organizations. So this was something, especially to start the main card off. Shout out Jordan Levitt, man. This guy really does have a bright future, and the personality behind him, they can build some character with him.
And
He's
what's
fun.
funny is
and
that,
very humble and respectful.
Yeah, and what's kind of funny is that his personality, I feel like he kind of like they can build something with him, because I don't think his personality is necessarily gonna appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of does have that bit of, like, there's, like, a weirdness to him.
Even in his
like,
bio, he says nerd.
Yeah, like,
his
he kind of
bio,
had, like, I think some people, you know, we got that, when you're taught in MMA, a lot of the fan base, you know, they have that masculinity thing. So I think that a guy like him can test some of those maybe old-fashioned values, if you want to talk about that. And I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do with him, because he is so intriguing. He is performing very well. He's going to be moving up quickly if he keeps this up. And this was against a veteran in Wyman, who, again, has been fighting for the UFC for 15 years. Well, 4 years off,
yeah.
11 years. And I know Wyman is now 0-3 in his return, and I think that's probably the last we're going to see of him, I hope, anyways, in the UFC. Disappointing, obviously, for him. But, I mean, what are you going to do there?
Yeah, and also, shout out to Jordan, by the way. Went up to Wyman's wife, who's in his corner of his fights, and gave her a hug and just offered his respect to her, because this was a scary knockout.
No,
like, don't get us wrong, it was insane. We love it, but at the same time,
we
it's
talk
scary.
We
when
talk
a guy...
like this now because he ended up being okay.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, in the moment, it was wow.
Yeah.
So I'm very impressed by Leavitt. He's really doing everything right now. And I'm very excited to see when he'll get back in there. Hopefully, maybe he'll be, 22 seconds. Why not get back in there in a few weeks?
We'll see you in January.
Yeah. We'll move on to our second fight at light heavyweight. Did you ever get, since again I was listening to this on mute, did you get a better pronunciation of Roman's last name?
Dolidze.
Oh, I like that a lot better than what I was saying. Roman Dolidze gets the split decision victory over John Allen, or is it Alon, or...
I
think it's
John Allen, yeah. Brazilian, though, but yes. John Allen.
So it was a split decision.
This is all.
We got to go on a rant here, right?
Mr. Chris Lee, listen.
I can't believe it was the same judge.
Listen. First off, we just want to say this fight was not a split decision at all. No. This was a clear-cut 3 rounds to nothing.
Yeah.
30-27, boom, 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 easy. Chris Lee... Look, I'm not shit talking. I'm not calling him out. He's probably judged a lot of fights. But listen, this is 2 in a row. This is bad. Okay. Chris Lee scored this fight 29-28 for John Allen. Roman Dolidze had 7 minutes and 6 seconds of ground control time and over 60 strikes landed on the ground.
That's a 15-minute fight.
Yeah. This fight... John Allen wasn't close.
It wasn't close.
No, not at all. And the judge, Chris Lee, scored the fight 2-1 for Allen, causing this to be a split decision.
So it's obvious with these last two, he does not give a shit about your ground control.
Well, here's where we're going to give the thing. Well, I guess we didn't go into it.
Yeah.
Chris Lee's the same judge who, if you watch the Rafael dos Anjos versus Paul Felder main event a couple weeks ago, or was that last week?
This is like 2 weeks
2 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
He scored the fight 48-47 for Felder.
And it was an obvious, at best, for Felder, 49-46.
For RDA to win.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like, so I had it 49-46, but some people had it 50-45.
RDA was on the broadcast Saturday night and said, this is almost as bad as when he picked me to win my fight against RDA.
Or wait, you mean Felder was on the broadcast?
Who'd I say?
You said RDA.
Oh, oops. Yes. Paul Felder was on the broadcast.
Yeah, because even Felder was shocked by that.
He said, wow, this is as bad as him telling me I won my fight against RDA. So.
And again, that was a great fight, and Felder looked great.
But you knew who won.
And again, the edge in that fight was RDA's ability to get the fight to the ground.
Yeah.
And able to really enforce his will there.
So apparently Chris Lee does not give a shit about grappling.
And I believe his background's like a boxing judge, which I guess is
But
like,
even on the feet, man.
That's what I'm and I agree. No. Don't get it twisted. Fuck Chris Lee.
Okay, well,
I'm just kidding.
Hold on.
I'm just kidding. But
we're just it was mind-boggling.
Mr. Lee, look, all respect to you. You've worked hard to get to your position. But may God have mercy on your soul, and I hope I never see you judge a fight again in UFC because I'm done. I'm done because guess what? Another judge gave a round to John Allen.
But
I get, and I'm not gonna shit on that judge. Hold on, I picked my battles here. Chris Lee's on my shit list, not this other guy. So, what if that judge had, for some godforsaken reason, given him another round? You're telling me John Allen could have potentially, if one judge...
He would have won that fight.
If one judge checks his phone a couple too many times, and Chris Lee's just like, hey, man, yeah, he won that round. All of a sudden, John Allen's the winner.
Yeah.
You're telling me John Allen had a chance to win that fight? No, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Roman essentially controlled this entire fight. Even when it was on the feet, like, yeah, John's best round was the third round.
And I think you could potentially give that to him. I didn't.
But it was only the first half.
Yeah.
Because he finished on his back.
I didn't give it to him.
I ultimately ended up scoring it for Roman because of the last half of the round 3.
Right.
Otherwise, I would have gave one round to John. Either way, he still lost 1 and 2, and it wasn't debatable. So, yeah, that happened. Can we switch fights? I'm just kidding.
I mean, do you want to tell any more to
Roman Dolidze, he's good.
He's good. He was undefeated.
This dude was
He's still undefeated, right?
Yeah, undefeated. Big guy. Holy shit. This dude was huge.
Mm-hmm.
This was light heavyweight, 205 pounds. Very good on the ground. He got a little gas, which is I think why John did good that first half of round 3. But for the most part, very good grappler. Was looking for submissions constantly. Good ground and pound, just held top control, knew what he had to do. Very confident on the ground. I was impressed. Wasn't the best performance ever, but a newcomer, that a guy, undefeated for a reason, like we always say, you saw why he's undefeated.
Yeah.
And John Allen didn't look bad, but it was just one of those fights where he just had no answers.
He was outmatched, yeah. I mean, that's really the take.
Because like I said, had he not gotten taken down those last 2 minutes of round 3, maybe he did win that round, but
clear
fight.
Cut at best, 29-28.
Yes, yeah.
And that's why it's just like, again, it's the same judge.
That's why it's just the judging in MMA, man, is...
Well, the problem is these state athletic commissions, they tend, like, a lot of the judges come from a background in boxing. So
which
a lot
is
of
understandable.
This isn't no disrespect to boxing, but when it's a whole different, like, MMA judges should not be judging boxing fights, just like
exactly.
boxing judges shouldn't be judging MMA fights.
Yeah.
And sure, you can have people that are good at both and just recognize that they're different and are able to judge both fairly. But then you have situations like this buffoon who is being given...
You really don't like Chris.
I'm upset because you could be costing Dolidze
yeah.
like major paydays here, hurting his career. It's like, dude, and maybe he's not to blame here. Maybe I should be going after the Vegas Athletic Commission because they are the ones assigning these guys to these fights.
I really think we need former coaches, current coaches, former fighters. Even MMA writers and reporters, like
the only
people that know the sport need to be judges.
So I agree. What I worry about when it comes to like former fighters or coaches is we don't really hear about it a ton, but there is that pack mentality of like, based off where a fighter, former or not, trained at, like there could be maybe some bias towards like, well, this guy fighting. Maybe you have a judge from Jackson Wink, and then you got a guy fighting that's currently at Jackson Wink. And I know that you can...
That always comes down to the selection process and all that.
I'm just saying that, like, there's probably not a perfect answer to, like, fix this.
But there has to be something better.
I just don't see how at this point, we're 27 years in as a sport, and we're still having, like, guys like this who obviously don't know the sport judging fights.
And even if there's a way to just like train them better, to do better.
Yeah, I mean, really,
like, I don't know. Like when Johnny and it comes on the pay-per-view or the fight night and they explain the rules and how they score the fights. It's based on aggression, grappling, and striking first. Those are the three, or striking and grappling first. Those are the first criteria. Striking and grappling. Not just striking and grappling in the fine print.
They're both even, striking and grappling.
Yes. So, that's just...
And that's our rant. Dolidze, great performance. I think that kid's a stud. I'm excited to see what he does next. John Allen, he was tough.
Oh yeah.
He took that punishment, and really he did. Like, he looked fresh in the third round despite being controlled.
Oh yeah.
On his back, and that's a tough place to be when you have a guy with all that weight on you and stuff. So he'll bounce back, I'm sure, but. Yeah, I think the bigger takeaway here is obviously that judging and the fact that it reminds me of the episode of SpongeBob where they're like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Yeah.
It's like Chris Lee got roasted.
Well, the fact that this is back to back for him, that's not a good look.
That's not a good look. As much as we loved that fight and loved Felder stepping up.
We knew he didn't win.
And he knew he didn't win.
Yeah, and he knew.
So Chris Lee got roasted.
Yeah.
And he goes,
I'll do it again.
You
want to see me do it again?
And he did.
Yeah.
He did do
it again. So let's just give Chris Lee a holiday break.
Give him a vacation.
And we'll see you in 2021. Maybe. Watch some grappling tutorials.
All right, I'm moving on. Lightweight.
I want to be a judge.
I do too.
All right, fight.
All right. Gabriel Benitez getting the TKO win over Justin James, 4 minutes 6 seconds into the first round. Not really how I thought this fight was going to go, if I must say. I really thought James might...
was a fun fight.
I mean, it was fun. No, it was a fun fight.
But yes.
I picked James to win this fight, and man, that knee to the body.
I wrote OMG brutal knee, all caps.
A brutal knee.
I said that hurt me, OMG.
So before that happened, how did you see the fight going before that?
I was going to score it for Benitez. I had the app open. I had Verdict open, ready to score it, and then... Yeah. Oh man, that knee hurt me. I was sitting on the recliner and like crunched up in my chair.
I had a lot of fun with this one.
This was a slobber knocker. They were going at it on the feet. Great fight. Both had their moments, but Benitez was getting the better of it. He was winning the round, and then 4 minutes 6 seconds in, he landed that knee, man. Oh, James just crumbled. He curled up. That was it. It was bad.
And I want to give props to Benitez here because he was potentially fighting for his like UFC life here in a sense, because he had lost 2 straight. Sure, was one of those to Sadiq Yusuf? Yes, it was. But then he had the loss to Omar Morales. If you lose a 3rd straight after he's already kind of bounced back and forth between winning and losing, I'm sure he had the loss to Andre Fili. So like he's lost to some good guys. He beat Jason Knight, but at the end of the day, he's kind of been a 500 fighter. Mm-hmm. And if he had lost 3 straight here, you'd have to wonder, is he really going to keep fighting in the biggest promotion? But he looked great.
Yep.
And it was a tough knee for James to take here. I was kind of disappointed in a way. I mean, it was a highlight reel finish.
Oh, it was perfectly
But I was like, man, I wanted to see more of that fight because I really thought those guys were going to potentially, I mean, that could have ended up being fight of the night if it had really continued. I don't know. That's a tough to beat that main event. But yeah, I mean, any other takeaway there?
I mean, I was still nothing to hang your head about. If you're Justin James, he was hanging in there. Again, they were both landing shots. Benitez, big win for him, a veteran of the UFC now. I think that was his 10th fight in the UFC, so I liked it. It was a fun fight and excited to see what's next. Again, it's not like either of these guys would be getting top 15.
Right.
But, go on a stretch, get a stretch going. We've seen, I mean, obviously Benitez is fighting top 15 guys. He just fought Yusuf, he's fought Fili, so he's right there. Get a couple more.
Yeah. And for James, now he's 1-2 in the promotions. Now he has to start and lost 2 straight. Gavin Tucker, though, about to fight Billy Q. So, like, that's another guy that's got some promise. So, he's losing to guys that are, at a direct. It's good competition.
Right.
So I'm sure he'll get another fight. Hopefully, I mean, who knows? Now we're talking about 60 fighters being cut. So both these guys could be gone for all we know. But
be 62.
At this moment, like, I'm still excited to see what's next for James and Benitez. They put on a fun fight for the round that we got. Mm-hmm. And overall, just another fight that led to what I'm talking about, this card being great.
Yeah.
Co-main event.
Oh.
Start with OSP. Missed weight.
First time ever.
First
40th
time ever.
career professional fight.
I wonder if light heavy just ain't for him anymore.
Came in at 207.5.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that move to heavyweight was, and he, I listened to his interview with the Schmo, before their fight, and he said he was talking about his heavyweight fight, and he said that like there was punches he was landing on Ben Rothwell that would have dropped or finished anybody at light heavyweight, and he was just like he didn't feel big enough to be at that weight class.
He didn't come in very. I don't remember what he weighed, but he just
it was like
wasn't
230,
yeah, I mean Rothwell's 265.
Yeah,
he's
big
top
dude.
of the class.
So that's why he ultimately went back to light heavyweight. But I'm wondering if that weight cut just ain't for him anymore. He's an older guy at this point.
Yeah, 37 now. He's had so many fights. A true veteran. You can't help but like this guy.
Oh, I love I love
just
OSP.
humble, quiet,
former football player.
Played football at University of Tennessee. I felt bad when he lost this fight.
I did too.
I was watching. I was like, oh yeah, I picked Jamal and he got the KO.
And we kind of had some fun talking about it.
Damn, I was sad, man. I really was. First round though, I loved the first round.
Let me just say, Jamal Hill did get the TKO win.
Oh, yes.
Second round, 3.5 minutes in. Now continue.
I love this first round.
It was great.
Very good round. A feeling out round, but a lot of action.
It
Not
was
your typical slow pace feeling out round.
It's like it's kind of like the fights that I take the most away from.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get that what you're talking about, where it's like you're seeing these guys have like a chess match.
Yeah, it was very good.
And
Both were landing, but Jamal Hill, the body work.
Yeah.
Ooh, the left straights to the body were brutal. They were going to play a factor over a 3-round fight, 100%. Jamal Hill's kind of like a leaner guy, sort of a skinny build like John Jones, but damn, he's got power, dude.
I love him.
He showed it in this second round. He kind of controlled that whole second round.
Yeah,
OSP didn't really do much. 3 minutes, 37 seconds in, he went in for the kill. He beat up OSP bad against the fence. It was a standing up TKO. Never went down or anything. Again, sad for OSP. It really sucked watching that. But Jamal Hill, buddy, welcome to the top 15.
Welcome to the top
of the light heavyweight division.
I was going to say the same thing.
This dude is for real, and I'm giving it to you right now. I'm giving it to you right now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Jamal Hill, Jimmy Crute. That's it. There's the mic drop.
Yeah.
Jimmy Crute 12-1, Jamal Hill undefeated.
Put that into my veins.
That's it. I just got chills.
That is a great fight. I would even, if I want to throw out another name, because that's tough to, I mean, it's hard. A lot of these guys are on like win streaks at the back, but because Span's already matched up in his next fight. But then Magomed Ankalaev, give me that too.
Yeah.
That might be, maybe that's too far ahead. Jimmy Crute, I like that.
Oh.
But yeah, let me just say, Jamal Hill.
Dude.
For one, I already love the guy, the way his composure, the way he just presents himself. He's a very calm, well-spoken guy.
Getting shout-outs by John Jones, by the way, on Twitter.
I really like, in the lead-up here, just like his style. He has that like star potential, but he's not going out of his way to like force it.
Right.
Like he's just a natural star.
He's just confident in his skills.
He's confident. He's well-spoken, but he's calm. He doesn't fall into that shit talk.
He knows he's good.
Yeah.
And he knows there's so much more for him to do.
And in this fight, at first, that way that first round was going, I was like, oh, OSP title shot coming up? I know. And I hate to like say that like I'm like joking. I legitimately say that because I do really love OSP, and like that Minifield knockout was so impressive.
He's a great fighter.
He is. He doesn't get the respect he deserves.
He fights everybody.
Yeah. That's why, like, you see, he has a lot of losses. But he jums in on late notice when he's fighting John Jones after DC has
Went 5 rounds, by the way, with John Jones.
And here, though, my biggest takeaway was you see the feeling out process, and it was very fun to watch. Both guys are landing. That second round, the moment that Jamal Hill saw OSP slip, he flipped the switch.
And he still did it in a way to where he wasn't.
It was
wild,
smart.
Wasn't crazy.
He didn't leave his chin open.
And he was landing.
But once he saw that opening, the switch flipped, and that killer instinct went in, and I'm like, that guy's gonna be fighting top 5 here soon.
Oh, Jamal Hill is for real.
I mean, that's why, like, in a way, when you say him versus Jimmy Crute, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to see either of those guys lose. I'm like, can we wait till they're at the top of the top? But right. I get it. Like, that's a great fight. And yeah, that was, I mean, for Jamal Hill, like, he's going to be number 15. OSP was ranked 15th going into this fight. So he's going to jump right in there. And yeah, I mean, it's all up from here for him. The sky's the limit. Yeah. I mean, I think this guy legitimately, I'm gonna say it, future light heavyweight champion.
He's good. Young. 29? 28? Something like that?
He's 29.
29?
Birthday in May, so you hit that.
He's hitting that prime.
You know, he doesn't have a ton of, like, his professional experience is lower than some. Yep. So therefore, again, it's fight years, not necessarily the age. Yep. And he's going to be hitting that athletic prime here in the next couple of years. I think the stars are going to align a little bit for him. And I'm very excited to see what's next for him. For OSP, what's next? Does he stick around at light heavy?
I didn't like him at heavyweight.
I know. I'm the only person in the world.
I just don't think I don't know.
I'm the only person. No.
He's a thick, big dude, but like, is he really a heavyweight?
Yes, I know. I'm dumb. I like the fight with Ben Rothwell. Sue me, people. I like that fight. But yes, I agree that OSP looks much more comfortable and also like a better fighter at light heavyweight.
You know what would be cool, though?
What?
If he fought at heavyweight against Andrei Arlovsky.
Why would you do that to me? You want to make me choose between two of my favorite guys?
I just think it'd be cool.
It would blow my mind.
Listen, OSP is a vet. I don't want to say retirement. Just had a huge win against a good prospect.
And here's what I will say. We were talking about first round KO because OSP's chin has looked a little suspect at times. He never went down.
That's true.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He was done.
He was done, but he
never went down.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's a testament because Jamal Hill's power looked powerful.
Yeah, he's good, man.
So I do just want to say OSP, I think, still has something left in the tank if he wants to keep going. Will he get back in that top 15? I could see it. I wouldn't even mind, like, I don't think he should be getting these fights, but, like, a fight with Paul Craig.
What about, like, him and, like, a Khalil Roundtree?
Yeah.
Something like that.
That'd be fine with me.
You know, something like that.
I mean...
We clearly see there's not a title fight now.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, even though he shouldn't be fighting top 15 guys,
he's good enough to be.
Like, I would, if they had him and Paul Craig, that'd be fine with me. You could even go up a little higher, and I'd be like, okay. Even if they wanted to give him him and Jimmy Crute, which I hope they don't, because I just kind of want to see him go back.
Like even him and a guy like Misha Serkinov, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
Like it does. Like I still think,
like that.
I think OSP is still talented enough I think he's a top 15 talent.
Yeah.
He just won't be top 15 after this fight. But yeah, I mean that's really all that can be said there. I hope that weight. I mean, shit happens. As much as we can sit here and shit on people who don't make weight,
shit happens.
You never know what's going on, and it's the first time it's ever happened to him, and he's been fighting for as long as he has.
40 fights.
So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But considering he was just at heavyweight, yeah, he came down, fought Menafield, didn't seem to have any problems there. I just wonder if maybe it's a sign that maybe that cut to light heavyweight's becoming too much for him at his age.
And I will say, Jamal Hill. My second fighter of the night. We're going to talk about my fighter of the night in just a second. But okay. Jamal Hill, dude, watch for him.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, hop on.
Mm-hmm.
Hop on.
Now we move on to our main event.
Oh.
Obvious fight of the night.
Beautiful fight.
We won't get into it now, but for our part 2 of our 2020 year in review, we're doing awards, and we're not just going to say who won fight of the year.
Yeah, we're going to give our top.
We're going to give a few.
We have to decide between some.
This fight might be on there for me.
This was a great fight.
I mean, it's up there for this year.
Yeah, this was great.
So you had Marvin Vettori getting a unanimous decision win over Jack Hermansson, 49-46 on 2 judges' scorecards, 49-45 on the third one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's given a 10-8 in the first round. I don't think I would have done that, but
I get it, but
I think I'm a little more conservative on 10-8s. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I think it's just like the old head in me a little bit.
We are who we are.
Yeah. So Dom, I'll start by saying that this was, as I keep saying, a terrific fight. Both guys showing a lot here. Vettori had the clear cut win here, but what I want to say is, first round, Vettori drops and hurts bad Jack Hermansson.
That was bad.
And if there was 30, 45 more seconds, that fight might have been done.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, he was.
Hermansson did a good job. At first, I thought it was going to be done, but he somehow, Jack managed to just hang on. Mm-hmm. And Vettori kind of locked in a guillotine a couple times, which is a little of an iffy decision. Again, I'm not in the moment. Probably wanted to conserve his gas tank, rightfully so. He ended up going 5 rounds. Holy shit! But yeah, Vettori hurt Hermansson really bad. Close call. Hermansson survives. Round 2. Another great round. This one went to the ground a little bit more with Vettori, but this was a closer round, I guess I should say. He did control the ground, ground and pound, landed the better strikes on the feet. Vettori up 2-0. But round 3 comes. I said the tide started to turn in round 3, Noah. I don't know if you felt the same way, but Hermansson turned it on in round 3.
Yes, he did.
Hermansson looked good.
What's amazing is, and sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Vettori nearly finishes that fight in the first round.
Yes.
And it looks like Hermansson's still feeling the effects of that throughout the second.
Yeah.
And Vettori just looks great. But in the third round, Hermansson looked like the fresher fighter.
Oh, yeah, he did. I thought the rest of the fight was
gonna go that
way.
Yeah,
yeah, I really did. Hermansson looked great in round 3. Now we've got 2-1 going into the championship rounds. Round 4 comes out. Oh, round 4 and round 5. Dude. 2 of the best rounds of the year.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of the best fights of the year. Back and forth. This fight set the all-time record for significant strikes landed in a middleweight middleweight fight ever.
And guess what fight that passed?
It was Whitaker Romero 2.
One of the best fights of all time.
Yes.
So what's that tell you?
This was
an awesome fight.
Yes. I did score round 4 for Vettori. It was going in Hermansson's favor, in my opinion, until like the last minute. Vettori started landing the bigger shots, the more significant shots, and I think that stole him that round 4. Therefore, okay, 3-1 going into round 5. Hermansson's got to get a finish.
Yeah.
Round 5. Oh, another great round.
Yeah.
Just like round 4. Very close. I ended up scoring it for Vettori. Round 3, 4, 5, all on the feet. Incredible fight. Very technical, but very powerful. Great striking at the same time. 49-46, or you already said it, times 2, and then a 49-45 for Vettori. Vettori looked good. And so did Hermansson, by the way.
This fight exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
Both fighters exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
I mean,
Vettori put his name on the map finally.
They both looked like top 5 guys.
Yes.
Because look, Hermansson, did I say he was going to lose this fight? Did I predict that? Yes. And you would go, oh, you're predicting him to lose to a guy ranked 13th. You must think Hermansson might be a little overrated. No. Maybe I did have some of that, but that's not really what I was thinking. Maybe I thought that against Kelvin Gastelum. But the reason for that is because really the only time we've seen him lose against this upper echelon of fighters was Jared Cannonier, a fight where he was very one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, coming into last night, he had won 7 of his last 8. Yeah. The only one.
And he's looked great besides that, but that one fight, and Cannonier is great, don't get me wrong, but that one fight, hurt my...
It changes the course of your career.
And it, just made me go, I don't know if he's really, ever going to be, a title challenger, but after that fight, man, I mean, both these guys could conceivably be challenging Adesanya or whoever for a belt in the future, depending on what happens there, so...
Hey. And if Vettori ever gets that chance, we're talking rematch.
We're talking rematch. I think they could really build that well.
Vettori talks that shit. Vettori is confident as ever.
Did you hear what he was saying in his post-fight interview?
Half of his interview was beeped out because it was on ESPN.
So I saw the unedited clip on...
He wants on the UFC video game.
Yeah, he said, put me on the fucking game.
Then he calls out number 2 ranked Borrachina.
Woo!
Paulo Costa.
Sign me up.
Sign me up, please.
Sign me up.
What a call out. Perfect call out. Didn't call for the title. Didn't do anything stupid. Mm-hmm. He said, this will be a hell of a fight. Well, Marvin, I agree. I'll see you in 2021 main eventing a fight night with Paulo Costa. That's it. You got to make that fight. 100%. Then, even if Costa wins, Costa's in a weird spot right now. But if Marvin wins, title shot.
Yeah.
Don't know who the champ's going to be, but title shot.
Mm-hmm.
Hermansson, I think you do Till.
I think you do Till as well.
It was already going to happen. I don't think Jack's going to get punished very badly for losing this fight. He'll go to 5 or 6. And I just think for Darren Till, it's a fight that you still need.
Mm-hmm.
To fight a guy like Hermansson who's good everywhere, but he's a guy that's really good at grappling, and Darren needs tested there, I think, to really prove himself because we know how good of a striker he is. Hermansson Till.
So right now Hermansson's 4th before they updated on Tuesday. Number 5 is Joel Romero, who just got cut.
Yeah.
So you put Hermansson 5, Vettori at 4, or you put Hermansson at 6. Put Vettori at 5 and then Till at 4. I mean, that's just kind of up to you how you want to do that. I'm just saying, maybe I don't know if that's too high to put Vettori. I don't think so. I think he looked great.
The only other fight, if they want to go a different route with Till, because the UFC loves Darren Till. Everybody loves Darren Till.
Yeah.
Derek Brunson.
Yeah.
That's the only other one. But I think Hermansson Till makes sense. Yeah. It was the fight that you were going to have. Might as well do it.
Yeah. 100%. And man, this fight was great. It exceeded my expectations.
Vettori Costa.
Ooh. That fight's exciting, man. I mean, Vettori, and here's what's so amazing.
Someone will be finished.
My prediction for this fight, I said I thought you would see pretty much everything MMA has to offer. You would see the stand-up, you would see the ground game, you would see the clinch work. We didn't see a lot of ground game here.
And no clinch.
And guess what? Most of that being because Vettori was able to keep the fight on the feet.
We're talking about a guy that has 9 of his 11 finishes via submission.
And he is so comfortable on the feet.
Yes.
And he looked great on the feet. And the power in his shots.
And in round 2, when it did go to the ground, his transitioning.
Yeah.
Wow, man. He had one where he was Jack was in full guard and immediately transitioned out the back, took his back essentially, and then was able to get right back up. I was like, wow. Yeah, I mean, this dude is all around mixed martial artist here.
People said Hermansson's route to win here was to get the fight to the ground, and we were like, well, not so fast.
Yeah.
And that proved to be true, is that with a guy like Vettori, you have to plan for him everywhere and anywhere, and he showed that. I mean, again, you didn't see a lot of clinch work, but, I mean, I'll take away more from the striking and grappling than anything else. And once the fight was a stand-up war in those later rounds, I mean, he was getting the better of it.
And it was never sloppy.
No.
Great.
As much as I love a fight like Usman and Covington, great fight, they're not strikers. The striking was a little sloppy at times because they are natural grapplers.
Right. And
because their grappling kind of canceled out, you get the stand-up war that was great to watch. But, give me that striking that we just saw. That's telling me that's
both were picking their big power shots, but most of it was piecing each other up.
Yeah, I like Vittori's brashness to him. He's got that. He's got a chip on his shoulder.
He does. Confident, but he also has the cockiness. It's not just confidence. He knows, and he's going to let you know how good he is.
Well, I feel like for him, it's like he feels like he has to.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you're not showing me that I'm worth it, and I know I'm worth it.
Yeah, he put the fans on notice last night, and he put the UFC on notice.
And he put EA on
Yes, he did. EA Sports. He called out DC. He said, Daniel Cormier, I know you're friends with them over there. Put me in the damn game. So DC's on the
It's just phone. So, I love these fighters calling to be put on the game. That's so funny to me.
There's a lot of fighters that ain't in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that it's funny to me that these guys are that's the first thing they say. They're like, put me on the damn game.
You do got to think, as a kid growing up playing video games, and you're always like, oh, how cool would it be if I'm in a game. And then they're living out their dream, they're in the UFC, and it's like, wait, I'm not in the game. But why ain't I in the game?
It's like Vettori had to buy UFC 4 and still create himself.
yeah.
Like we did as kids.
Exactly.
And it's like, damn.
Yeah. So, EA Sports, put Marvin Vettori in the game. UFC, book Vettori and Paulo Costa.
Right now.
Yes.
UFC 258. 259. 260. I don't give a fuck.
Put it on Connor and... No, I'm just kidding. He needs rest.
Yeah, I give him some time.
But seriously, spring of 21, ooh, That's a good one. That's a fight night headliner written all over it.
Oh, man. 5 rounds of that?
Ooh.
Really proven? That would be a big test for Costa, too?
Yeah, well, we know who we'd favor in a 5-round fight, I would think. After what I saw out of Vettori last night.
Potentially.
But that fight won't go 5 rounds. No way.
I couldn't imagine. I would hope not. But I think that's gonna wrap that up.
Yeah, go watch that fight if you didn't.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
It's a beauty to watch.
That's all I
We're
have.
closing the book. The chapter has been written. The ink is dry.
Oh.
Oh.
Our rating.
Oh, we didn't do this last week.
Damn it. I wanted to make it a thing, and then I forgot last week.
So do you want to do it? You want to make it a thing?
No, well, yeah, starting today.
Okay. So what was your
We're
rating?
starting today.
So
we meant to start this last week.
We're doing just main card, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what was your rating for the main card?
Out of 10.
And I feel like, okay, so hold on. Let's talk about this on air right now.
Yeah. Did we ever have this? Or was this off air when we talked about this?
No, we did it for Felder Anjos.
So we just missed last week.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay, go.
So, are we gonna do this for pay-per-views as well?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, well then I think we need 2 different scales here because pay-per-views already have the bigger fights naturally.
Okay.
So I think pay-per-views we do letter grades.
Oh.
Here
Fight
we
nights we do out of 10.
Do out of 10.
Oh, very cool. Do we get plus and minuses?
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. This fight night was a solid 8.5.
Ooh.
8.
So
I was going to go 8.
if you remember,
I really love the main event.
If you remember Felder Anjos, you gave it a 6.5. I gave it a 7.
Yeah.
You gave this an 8.5. I think I'm gonna go 8. So you pushed me.
I was going to go 8. That main event. Oh.
The main event was and like really these were great fights. And if you're talking about for a fight night, and again, I know it's only 8 fights in total, but we're talking about just the main card here. You get your 5 fights. Not a stinker on here, really. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't at all.
Yeah, I mean, man, maybe I do go 8 point. Actually,
that shitty judging in the Delidze fight.
All right, it's an 8 out of 10. All because of you, Chris Lee. But anyways, we are closing the book.
Yeah, we did a PS.
The chapter has been written. The ink is dried on hashtag UFC Vegas 16. Please check out that main event if you haven't. As for the rest of the week, Wednesday,
I'm all giddy.
Wednesday, this episode's going to be a little extra special. The month of December is going to be, for our special episodes, a look back at 2020.
No better
2020,
way to do it.
well, let me get the right title in here. 2020, or is it 2020 year in review?
A year in review.
A year in review. Part 1
Wait,
coming
maybe
this
it is just year in review.
Part 1 coming this Wednesday. You'll see it when you see it. Part 1 coming this Wednesday. A look back at Fight Island. Let's be honest. Fight Island's been the biggest overarching takeaway from 2020 when it comes to MMA and its response to COVID-19.
And one of the biggest in all of sports.
Yes. So I think it's only appropriate that we do dedicate an episode to, we did the documentary and we were able to talk about a lot of those factors behind the scenes because that's what that documentary was giving us. But this gives us a chance to really break down some of these cards that we didn't get a chance to because we didn't start the podcast until August. So we get to look back at UFC 251. Talk about some of those fight nights after, like what our big takeaways were. What were our thoughts going into those fights?
And of course, just Fight Island.
Yeah,
it's everything.
And also, this will be a chance for us to talk about our 2020.
Yeah,
the highs, the lows, everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that'll be a great starting point for our 2020 year in review, and then part 2, which will come 2 weeks later. The year end awards.
We're gonna have to wear tuxedos. It's the award show. Yeah. It's the Below Show's MMA podcast.
They won't be able to see us.
First annual award show. Yeah. This is gonna be awesome.
We're gonna be wearing tuxedos. They can't even see us. We're talking fighter of the year. We're talking fight of the year. We're talking newcomer of the year. We're talking most disappointing fight of the year, most disappointing fighter of the year, most surprising fight of the year, and last but not least, most surprising fighter of the year.
It's going to be a...
Yes. Are all those necessary? Maybe not, but I'm excited about it.
I'm ready.
But that's what's to come. And then Friday, of course.
Well, before Friday.
Okay.
Or do we want to go out with Thursday?
I think when you talk... Okay. When we get into social media, that's where you plug. Friday, UFC 256, headlined by Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno.
And tell him that co-main.
That co-main being Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. I mean, that's a great card. We're going to break it all down. We'll potentially be doing more than just 5 fights.
We're gonna be
potentially.
We might be doing a couple extra.
We might be doing like 10.
By the way, episode 50.
Episode 50.
Okay.
Let it take
half 100.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Look at us.
Just out here.
But we're going to be previewing that main card along with anything else that sticks out with this.
Yes. There will be things that stick out.
Yeah, so that is the rest of the week.
This is one of my favorite weeks we've ever had. This might be my favorite week we've ever had.
Well, big praise.
Mm-hmm.
So Dom, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DSlee14. You can find our podcast on Twitter and Instagram at BAJ_MMA podcast.
And you want to do that because Thursday, the big announcement is coming, people. You want to be there for it because things
are changing.
And they're looking up for the better.
Oh, this is big.
We're in too deep. I want to sing like I'm just a kid. But instead, here I am doing a podcast with you.
Yeah.
I'm in too deep now.
Oh, we are so excited to share this.
I'm so excited. I'm nervous. Yeah. I have that like good butterflies where it's like, what's next?
I feel like we're really going to legitimize ourselves here with the MMA community and our listeners.
Yeah. As for me...
I'm going to say it. You got to go.
As for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you links to all the platforms that the podcast are on, along with our social medias, the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, the Anchor page, along with Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there. And there's a link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. All that does is give us a few dollars a month. All that money goes back into improving either the audio quality of the podcast or down the road doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all that on my bio at Twitter, Instagram, at...
Wait,
hold on.
What are we doing? We're following Twitter at Twitter and Instagram at...
Man, I thought I had nailed that little thing I do there, but...
that's all right.
So you can find all of that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker.
Yes.
ntbaker_.
Okay.
But with that, we're out, and we're going to see y'all on Wednesday. Woo!